Hello and welcome to Fast and Factual. My name is Utsaf Parekh and here are the top stories of the day. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken is in Israel to push for a ceasefire in Gaza. Blinken is scheduled to meet Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu today. He has already met the Israeli President Isaac Herzog. The trip marks Blinken's 9th visit to West Asia since the war in Gaza began. Hamas and Israel are trading blame for blocking the ceasefire deal. Hamas has accused Netanyahu of setting new conditions to prolong the war. The remarks came after the US, Egypt and Qatar-mediated talks in Doha failed to yield results last week. An explosion in Tel Aviv killed at least one person and injured another yesterday evening. The Israeli police say that the blast appears to be a terrorist attack. The police are investigating the blast. A powerful 7.0 magnitude earthquake triggered a volcanic eruption in eastern Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula. The volcano reportedly spurted a column of ash and smoke 5 kilometers into the air. It also triggered a brief code red warning for aircraft in the area. Scientists have issued a warning about the risk of another, potentially more powerful earthquake in the region. Russia claims that Ukraine is using Western weapons for strikes inside its territory. The Russian Defense Ministry says that Ukraine likely used US-made HIMARS munitions to strike a bridge in Kursk. Kyiv's forces struck a bridge in Kursk on Friday. Moscow says that the attack killed volunteers who were evacuating civilians from the region. Ukraine's Air Force also claims to have destroyed another strategic bridge in Russia's Kursk region. The attack on the bridge over the Seym River allegedly limits the supply capacity of Russian forces. Ukraine released a video of the strike. This is the second bridge that Kyiv has struck since Friday. Meanwhile, Russia's President Vladimir Putin has arrived in Azerbaijan's capital Baku for a 2-day visit. Putin is set to discuss bilateral relations and regional issues with the Azeri President Ilham Aliyev. According to the Kremlin, the two will also discuss issues between Azerbaijan and Armenia. US Vice President Kamala Harris, who is running in the upcoming presidential race, called her opponent Donald Trump a coward. During her campaign in Pennsylvania yesterday, Harris said that Trump's politics focused on putting down his rivals. Harris will now attend the US Democratic Party's National Convention in the city of Chicago. The Democratic Convention starts today. India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar met his Nepalese counterpart Arzu Rana Deuba in New Delhi today. They held talks about strengthening India-Nepal ties and issues of mutual cooperation. A 21-year-old student was raped in the Indian city of Bengaluru yesterday. She was sexually assaulted by a man who gave her a lift. The police have launched a probe into the incident. The new incident comes amid nationwide outrage over the brutal rape and murder of a doctor in Kolkata earlier this month. The Philippines has become the latest nation to report an Mpox case. Earlier, Sweden and Pakistan reported cases of the viral infection. The spread of Mpox outside the African continent has raised concerns around the world. The World Health Organization has declared the infection a global public health emergency. A Chinese ship collided with a Filipino vessel near the disputed Sabina Shoal, which is located in the West Philippine Sea. The Chinese Coast Guard released footage of the collision. Beijing claims that the Filipino vessels deliberately collided with their ship. Manila disputes the Chinese claim. The Philippines says that the Chinese ships were conducting unlawful and aggressive maneuvers. They say that these maneuvers resulted in collisions causing structural damage to the two Philippine Coast Guard vessels. In climate news, tropical storm Ernesto has re-strengthened into a hurricane. The hurricane has brought heavy rain and wind to the US and Canadian coastlines. Ernesto is expected to pass near Canada's Newfoundland either later today or tomorrow. Torrential rain lashed the Alpine regions of Austria. Muddy water swept cars away at the ski resort of St. Anton in the western part of the country. Severe floods left parts of Austria's capital Vienna underwater. The incessant downpour led to heavy traffic and disrupted railway services in Austria. A Mediterranean sea grass named Posidonia oceanica, also known as the lungs of the Mediterranean, is struggling to survive. This undersea plant is threatened by rising sea temperatures, invasive species, and human activities. The seagrass is endemic to the Mediterranean. It plays a crucial role in maintaining marine health and fighting climate change. Studies say that the seagrass absorbs carbon dioxide 3 times more effectively than tropical forests. Climate activists are now working to preserve and restore Posidonia oceanica to reverse its decline. A heat wave has killed a large number of mussels in shellfish farms in Croatia. Local farmers say that at least 90% of their mussels were killed due to the heat wave in the second half of July. In mid-July, the temperatures in Croatia's Dalmatia region soared to 40 degrees Celsius. About 100 people fell ill due to extreme heat at an air show in the U.S. state of Colorado. 10 of those people were admitted to hospitals. This happened even though local authorities had issued a heat advisory because the temperatures were expected to rise to 37 degrees Celsius. Nearly 200 firefighters are battling a raging wildfire in Portugal's Madeira Island in the Atlantic Ocean. The wildfire began in a remote rural area of the island and then began spreading. At least 160 people have been evacuated from the wildfire-hit areas. An orange alert has been issued to people living along Madeira's coastline. Meanwhile, in Spain, firefighters are battling a raging wildfire in the Zamora province. At least 200 hectares of land have been burnt. The town of Cejas de Aliste has been evacuated. The wildfire has also led to the closure of a national road. And Turkish firefighters are battling a wildfire that erupted on Sunday in the country's southwest. Local authorities have warned of more wildfires in northern and western Turkey over the coming days. So far, Turkish firefighters have contained 241 wildfires since the 15th of August. On to business and tech news now. Investment banking giant Goldman Sachs has lowered the odds of the US falling into a recession. The firm now says that the US has a 20% chance of falling into a recession in the next 12 months. Goldman Sachs had raised the odds to 25% after American jobs data for July came out. The data showed that the country's unemployment rate had surged, raising fears of an economic downturn. Job vacancies in the UK have risen for the first time this year. This is according to data from a job search site called Arzu. British companies advertised 1.1% more jobs in July compared to the previous month. The UK has seen its job market stagnate after the COVID-19 pandemic. Data shows that vacancies across the country have continued to decline in recent years. Canada's 2 main freight rail operators, the Canadian National Railway and the Canadian Pacific Kansas City, have issued a lockout notice. This was issued after the firms failed to reach a new wage agreement with their workers. If the companies don't reach a new deal with their workers by August 22nd, they will be forced to stop work. The railway workers say that the companies are adding new clauses to their agreements. This includes requiring workers to relocate across Canada and requiring them to stay awake longer, which increases the risk of accidents. Workers at the world's largest copper mine, the Escondida mine in Chile, have ended their strike. This is after the mine operator, Australia's BHP Group, announced changes to working conditions. The firm says it'll take steps to optimize shifts, increase equipment use, and comply with a 40-hour work rule. Escondida miners have been on strike since last week, demanding better pay and conditions. Reports say that BHP has offered workers around $32,000 as a bonus. The Australian banking group Westpac has reported a 6% rise in its quarterly profits. Earnings from financial instruments and a rise in savings deposits have helped the bank's earnings. Australia's high benchmark interest rate has allowed Westpac to generate better returns on its investments. Meanwhile, savings deposits also surged during the April to June quarter. The Tokyo Metro train operator is set for an initial public offering in October this year. Reports say that the Japanese central government and Tokyo city authorities are looking to raise $2.4 billion. The two governments own almost 100% of the stakes in the Tokyo Metro. The IPO is expected to be Japan's largest public listing in the last 6 years. Japanese retailer Seven & I Holdings has reportedly received a takeover bid from Canada's Alimentation Couche-Tard. Seven & I operates the 7-Eleven convenience store chain globally. The firm has reportedly set up a committee to scrutinize the acquisition proposal. If the deal goes through, it would be the largest ever takeover of a Japanese firm by an overseas company. The share prices of the Japanese space startup Astroscale rose by as much as 19% today. This comes as the firm signed an $81 million deal with Japan's space agency. Astroscale has signed a 5-year deal to remove debris from an old Japanese rocket in space. The firm will develop a new spacecraft with robotic arms to capture the debris. The shares of Indian e-scooter maker Ola Electric hit the upper circuit limit today. Ola Electric's share prices rose by about 10% in early trade, hitting 146 rupees. The firm's share prices have doubled since its stock market debut last week. Two South Korean chip makers, Rebellions and Sapyeon, have signed a merger agreement. The firms have been in talks since June. Sapyeon's shareholders include South Korea's SK Group. Both chip makers have been working on graphic processing units or GPUs to power artificial intelligence. Their merger is seen as a move to challenge the global dominance of American chip maker Nvidia. Moving to sports, we start with cricket. Australia plan to host England to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Test cricket. This will be at the Melbourne Cricket Ground or MCG. Cricket Australia says that they will host England for a one-off Test match in March 2027. The first ever Test match was played in 1877 at the MCG. Australia won that match by 45 runs. Indian pacer Mohammed Shami will reportedly make a comeback to domestic cricket with the Ranji Trophy. He's expected to play for the Bengal team in the domestic tournament. Shami is currently undergoing rehab after an ankle surgery. He last played for the Indian team during the ODI World Cup final last November. He's expected to appear in one of India's test matches against New Zealand later this year. In football news, the English Premier League is back. This weekend saw the first round of fixtures for the season. Last night, Manchester City kicked off their Premier League campaign by defeating Chelsea 2-0. Norwegian striker Erling Haaland scored his 91st goal for City, giving them the lead in the 18th minute. Mateo Kovacic then added to City's tally in the 84th minute to seal the game. Brentford secured a 2-1 victory over Crystal Palace in their Premier League opener yesterday. Brian Mbeumo put Brentford ahead by scoring in the 29th minute, but then an own goal by Ethan Pinnock gave Palace their equaliser. Yohan Wissa scored the decisive goal in the 76th minute to give Brentford all 3 points. French striker Kylian Mbappe failed to score on his La Liga debut for Real Madrid. Mallorca held the European champions to a 1-1 draw in their season opener. Mbappe's attempts to score were thwarted by Mallorca's goalkeeper Dominic Grief. It was Mbappe's second match for Real Madrid. His first game was the victory over Atalanta in the UEFA Super Cup last week. In tennis, world number 1 Jannik Sinner has reached the final of the Cincinnati Open. The Italian star beat world number 4 Alexander Zverev 7-6, 5-7, 7-6. Sinner powered through a hip issue to defeat the German. The world number 1 will now face America's Frances Tiafoe in the final. Meanwhile, in the women's draw, America's Jessica Pegula has reached the Cincinnati Open final as well. Pegula beat the Spaniard Paula Badosa 6-2, 3-6, 6-3 in the second semi-final. The match was briefly suspended due to rain. Pegula will now face Belarus's Aryna Sabalenka in the final. Sabalenka won her semi-final against world number 1 Iga Świątek in straight sets. America's Brooks Koepka has beaten Spaniard John Ram in a playoff to win the LIV Golf Greenbrier title. This is Koepka's 5th major LIV Golf title. The American said that this was his most prized title due to his day-long battle with Ram. Ram had previously defeated Koepka to win the 2023 Masters title. Italian racer Francesco Bagnaia has won his 3rd successive Austrian MotoGP. Bagnaia crossed the finish line of the 28-lap race just 3 seconds ahead of his main title rival, Jorge Martin. This is Bagnaia's 7th win of the season on the Ducati bike. Jorge Martin had to settle for 2nd place, with Enea Bastianini securing the last spot on the podium. Paris is transforming its Eiffel Tower Stadium to host the Paralympic events. The stadium at the foot of the Eiffel Tower previously hosted Olympic beach volleyball with 400 tons of sand installations. Now, the organizers plan to host a Paralympic blind football at the venue. The game's organizers plan to keep the sand underneath the football field. The blind football events will begin on the 1st of September. In entertainment news, artists like Mindy Kaling, Kerry Washington and Tony Goldwyn will host the 2024 Democratic National Convention. The event spans 4 nights between August 19th and August 22nd in the city of Chicago. Alien Romulus has knocked Deadpool and Wolverine off the box office throne. The film debuted with $41.5 million earnings in North America. The film's global box office collection now stands at $66.7 million. This is the 7th film in the franchise, which began in 1979. The teen flick Toxic has won the top prize at the Locarno Film Festival in Switzerland. It won the Golden Leopard Award, beating 16 other films. The story shows the bond between 2 teenage aspiring models. The runner-up award went to an Austrian movie titled Mond. Actor Penn Bagley has wrapped up his shooting schedule for You Season 5. The series is about a serial killer and a pathological liar. He posted a video stating that he doesn't really do too much when he's at work. The 5th season of You will reportedly be the last installment of the popular series. Elizabeth Debicki, who played the role of Princess Diana in The Crown, says that the show ended in the right place. Debicki feels that the showrunners did an amazing job of running the 6 seasons and giving it a proper ending. Pitbull has broken his silence over the claims of Kesha's name being intentionally removed from the credits of the 2023 Timber music video. This comes after fans started speculating that there was bad blood between the 2 artists. Pitbull said that he has an incredible song with Kesha and his team is looking into the matter. Rapper Travis Scott has decided to re-release Days Before Rodeo for the mixtape's 10th anniversary. It will be re-released on the 23rd of August with unreleased bonus tracks. The mixtape, originally released in 2014, fans will also be able to buy merchandise and vinyl bundles from the rapper's official website. Singer Bob Dylan will sing a cover song for Don't Fence Me In for former US President Ronald Reagan's biopic. The upcoming film will also feature music by Gene Simmons, Clint Black and Tanya Tucker. The British Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are on a trip to the South American country of Colombia. The duo visited a town in North Colombia which was founded by runaway slaves. They were accompanied by the Vice President of Colombia, Francia Marquez. Harry and Meghan also attended a forum on Afro women and power. They want to promote mental health for young people and combat cyberbullying. French actor Elain Delon has passed away at the age of 88. He was diagnosed with cancer earlier this year. France's President Emmanuel Macron also paid tribute on X. Delon is survived by his 4 children. That's all for this episode of Fast and Factual. Thank you for watching and stay tuned to Firstpost.
Hello and welcome to Fast and Factual.